lovers. It is G Swiss here and I got more books to haul. Yes, I do. So, it's your girl. I got more books. I have 58 books in total to haul today, and it's funny because 8 of those 58 I received today in the mail, so I just thought to myself, could not be more perfect timing. Some of these are going to be pre-orders, some of these are going to be just books that I purchased on a whim, and some of these, once again, kind of like following up from my previous book haul, I did give the disclaimer that some of these I also had permission to take from my workplace or take secondhand as well. I guess without further ado, you guys are actually here to see the books, so I'm going to show you the books. First book I bring up in this haul is A Brush with Love by Maisie Eddings. Now, first of all, the cover pretty much captured me because I absolutely love this blue in contrast with the pink and white. I reckon that this cover looks absolutely aesthetically pleasing, especially as a romance novel. But after it came out, it's gotten a lot of buzz on TikTok. By the looks of it on my end, it seems to be promoted in a bunch of stores. So I decided to grab it for myself and I cannot wait to try it out. And hopefully I love it just as much as the other romantic novels that I'm reading so far. Now, this next book I actually wasn't expecting to get, but I decided to purchase. I just saw it for very cheap at Target and I just decided, okay, I may as well pick up I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. If you guys don't know, Casey McQuiston is the author of One Last Stop and Red, White, and Royal Blue, and this is their new novel. This one I didn't really want to pick up because I haven't really been into young adult contemporary, and also, I'm not gonna lie, I don't necessarily like the green on the original cover, so I thought to myself, yeah, I'm gonna give that a pass. I hate to say this, I know this is like a superficial reason, but when I saw the color of this cover, like the blue in the contrast with the pink, once again, blue and pink, I don't know why, I love those two colors together. And then when I saw the spine, I was like, okay, I may as well just spend my money on it because it seems to be pretty affordable right now. Also, I've been hearing some good reviews. It's not necessarily a book that I'm going to pick up straight away, but it's definitely a book that I do want to keep an eye out for. If I read One Last Stop and I decide, oh, you know, I want to read another Casey McQuiston book, maybe, just maybe, I might pick this up. And then I received my pre-order of Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Now, this is Emily Henry's most recent novel. Have I read anything by Emily Henry yet? No, I haven't. Did I plan to back in May? Yeah, I did, and I didn't. I just had a really slumpy mood in May, and I was planning to binge read Emily Henry stuff. It's very fascinating because I've noticed that this month in particular, a lot of critiques about Emily Henry's books have been coming out recently. Like, I had a personal conversation with a couple of friends that said that her books are overhyped in their opinion. People are 50-50 about them. I don't know if they heavily focus on the plot rather than the romances. I'm not too sure, but I have to find out somehow. I have 3 of Emily Henry's books on my shelf. I haven't gotten to any of them yet, so I need to do that like soon. The next book I bring up in my haul is Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne. Sally Thorne is the author of The Hating Game. Do I know anything about this one? No. However, I finally saw this one in B format down from its initial trade paperback form. I finally saw that, I believe, at Big W, and I just decided, okay, I'm gonna finally pick it up. Hopefully I love it. I hear good things about this one. I hear great things about The Hating Game, but I don't hear great things about 99% Mine. We'll see how I go with Sally Thorne's fiction, but I definitely want to start off with The Hating Game first. The next romance novel I pick up is the kind of companion sequel to The Roommate, and that, my friends, is The Intimacy Experiment by Rosie Denan. Fun fact, I was actually given a gift voucher prior to filming this book haul, and all the books that I received from that book voucher have arrived, and this was one of the books I purchased with that gift voucher, and I'm so happy that I had the chance to because I ended up purchasing The Roommate from Target, I believe, but I never saw The Intimacy Experiment there. Sometimes Target will feature the first book in a series but will never like continue on. At least that's what I've noticed. Some publishers will like sell in the first book but won't necessarily sell in the rest. I was finally able to get my hands on The Intimacy Experiment and I didn't really have to pay a thing because I was given a gift voucher, so that's exciting. But I cannot wait to binge read this companion duology. I don't know if the series is going to continue on from this, but I just hear great things about The Roommate and The Intimacy Experiment, and I hear that The Intimacy Experiment kind of improves upon The Roommate. I don't know, we'll see, but personally I cannot wait to try out the series. And another book I purchased with that voucher is the new Christina Lauren book, Something Wilder. I have been anticipating this book for so long, even though I haven't actually read all of Christina Lauren's backlist. I am so excited for the day that I finally finish their backlist and finally make a tier ranking video of all their books, because that is what I'm planning to do. But I can't make the tier ranking video until I actually get my hands on the beautiful beautiful series. So here's to hoping that that happens. So this book only recently came out from Christina Lauren. It's pretty early to tell what the reception is. I actually haven't been reading reviews about this one, but I kind of hope that it's like a step up or an improvement, at least from the Unhoneymooners, because I believe that the Unhoneymooners was the last book from them. It feels absolutely weird to see a permanent sticker of one of Christina Lauren's books on a Christina Lauren book. I think I'm so used to seeing like permanent stickers with Taylor Jenkins Reid, but this is something new to me. Something wilder I received, and I'm so looking forward to reading and letting you guys know how I feel about it. And the next book I have to bring up in this haul is The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. I believe I purchased this novel alongside A Brush with Love and The Second First Impressions. I also purchased this one at Big W, and this was a big surprise because this has only just been picked up by an Australian publisher, and I've had the international edition on my Amazon wishlist for quite some time. I was actually pleasantly surprised to see it in Big W. I don't really know much about this, but I hear great things. Two other books that I purchased with the gift voucher I received were the next two books in the Bromance Book Club series. Crazy Stupid Bromance and Isn't It Bromantic. I am so excited to read this series, and honestly, I want to binge it. I always hear from everyone that the first book is the best, but I'm going into it with the expectation that the next three books aren't necessarily going to be great, but I hope that having those expectations will actually help me enjoy my reading experience more. Now, before you say anything, all these Colleen Hoover novels were passed to me secondhand. I've got the Slammed series. I believe that this is a complete trilogy, but it's funny because this girl matches the Hopeless series better than it does like its actual series. And then I have the Hopeless duology, as well as the novella Maybe Not and Finding Cinderella. Finding Cinderella, I believe, is a novella spin-off from the Hopeless series, and Maybe Not is a novella sequel slash spin-off to Maybe Someday, which I did haul previously. Similarly to Christina Lauren, I do want to read all of Colleen Hoover's novels and tier rank them, but this is more a project out of curiosity rather than it is enjoyment. November 9 I absolutely enjoyed, however Without Merit I didn't enjoy as much, so now it's just more based on curiosity rather than enjoyment. However, my mind might change as I go through all of Colleen Hoover's backlist. These aren't the only Colleen Hoover novels that I have to haul today. I also hauled these three separately. So first of all, I'm mentioning Layla. I've actually heard really good things about Colleen Hoover's newest novels. The last time I had a conversation with someone about Colleen Hoover, my friend was absolutely boasting about Reminders of Him. She was pretty much saying like, you need to read it ASAP. I want to read it ASAP. However, I don't know whether I should read one of Colleen Hoover's backlist books before I get to these ones in particular, because these are some of her newer works, and I believe that her writing has improved since some of her older works, or at least I hope that it has improved since Without Merit in particular. I hear that a lot of Colleen Hoover fans specifically love these books by her, so I've got Layla here, I've got Regretting You, and I've got Reminders of Him, which was her most recent novel. I don't know if Regretting You was the one beforehand or whether it was Layla, but what I do know is that these three and Verity are some of her most recent novels that everybody's absolutely raving about, and yeah, I'm at least wanting to get to It Ends With Us before it starts with us. I am doing this mostly as a personal project. Colleen Hoover essentially takes up like 1 or 2 shelves. Now I just need to read her book. Speaking of authors who take up multiple shelves, of course I'm enabling it by buying multiples. The B format paperback of A Court of Silver Flames finally came out, and I have just purchased it, and I love the bright colors. Okay, I understand why people don't like the bright colors because they don't feel like it matches the series or it matches the energy, whatnot. I get that. However, personally, I think I just love how they pop on my shelf. So no, I'm not gonna stop collecting these editions in particular, but in terms of the hardback one, I would be happy to just cover those up. This is personally one of my favorite books by Sarah J Maas. I understand why it's not everyone's favorite, but Nesta is my favorite character. I don't know if she's my favorite character of all time now, but she is pretty darn close. And now we move on from romance to talk about a middle grade novel. And the middle grade novel I'm gonna mention is Skandar and the Unicorn Thief by A.F. Steedman. I am so excited to read this. I don't know why, I feel like I need to mention this. I really like how this cover art pops on a matte format cover, but I cannot wait to read this. This is definitely recommended to fans of Percy Jackson and Keepers of the Lost Cities. I really want to read more middle grade, kind of to recommend my cousin more middle grade. Skandar and the Unicorn Thief is definitely one I want to try to see whether I would endorse it to her or not. And the next book I have to bring up in this haul is The Winter Dress by Lauren Chater. This is written by an Australian novelist. The cover looks absolutely stunning. I believe that this is a historical fiction novel. I don't really know much about it. Let me tell you, I am always wanting to kind of expand my reading taste. I cannot wait to get to this and to support more local authors. I'm also very much looking forward to read The Improbable Life of Ricky Monkey Bird. I really love this cover as well. And once again, this seems like a read that's completely out of my comfort zone as well, but I just decided to pick it up because catching cover, and I've been hearing great things from the people around me about this one in particular. Speaking of reading out of my comfort zone, right here I have a non-fiction book, and that, my friends, is Bedtime Story by Chloe Hooper. And what I found very interesting about this non-fiction book is that there are illustrations throughout, and honestly it looks like it makes for a very immersive experience. I've heard this specific book be comped to A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, and honestly, like, looking at the interior art and just all of this darkness, all the shades, all these illustrations, that is exactly the vibe that I get from it. I've heard that it also reads like a fiction novel, even though it is a non-fiction book. So I am very curious to try it out. Recently I picked up a poetry collection, and that poetry collection is Homebody by Rupi Kaur. I used to read a lot of modern poetry like a few years ago, and honestly I enjoyed reading it. I really did. It wasn't necessarily because it was easy to read in my reading challenges. I just genuinely kind of enjoyed it. I think at first it was the motivation of reading it during a Goodreads reading challenge. However, I got really immersed in modern poetry, and honestly it brought a lot of emotions out of me personally, so that's probably why I kind of stopped for some time. However, Homebody is one that I have wanted to read. I actually got halfway through The Sun and Her Flowers. I had to stop because I was getting very emotional. So let's hope that at least this time round I won't let the emotions turn me off from reading a fantastic poetry collection. And now I think I'm gonna move on to some manga for you guys. First of all, I want to talk about the most recent manga I've read as I'm filming this video, and that, my friends, is Deadpool Samurai Volume 1. This feels so much like a Marvel comic book. However, it definitely has the vibe of a shonen manga because it definitely feels very meta. It's definitely meant to be meta because every Deadpool comic, from what I've read so far, is very meta in terms of its humor. It breaks the fourth wall a lot, but oh my goodness. I don't want to spoil anything because I reckon that the references are a great surprise for anybody who wants to read Deadpool comics, but let me tell you, if you are into shonen manga, but you are also into Marvel comics, or you're just into Deadpool in general, this is really funny, and there are a lot more manga references than I would kind of anticipate from something that was Marvel related. I definitely endorse this, but I'm hauling it and I cannot wait to haul the rest of the volumes. I believe that this is a 3-volume series. Speaking of intellectual properties I absolutely love, I have the short story collection of the Demon Slayer universe, or at least the manga short story collection, the only one that's out so far from what I know, Stories of Water and Flame. I have read this, I did enjoy it, and I believe I talk about it in my May wrap-up. In my May wrap-up, I also talk about Imakoi Now I'm in Love, volumes 1 and 2. I have read these and I'm hauling them today, and I'm just gonna say this, aesthetically, this series is absolutely beautiful. I cannot wait to continue on with reading this series. The next 3 volumes of manga I have to haul are volumes 3, 4, and 5 of Chainsaw Man. I have read volumes 1 and 2 as I'm filming this video, and I absolutely loved volumes 1 and 2. To everybody who has recommended me Chainsaw Man, thank you. I love the series so far, and I am planning to binge it. I believe that the next couple volumes don't have too long until they're out, so you guys just already know that I'm going to be onto this, and I'm gonna let you guys know how I go with the rest of the series and my initial thoughts once they're all out. The next book I bring up in this haul is a bind-up of volumes 1 and 2 of Mason Ikoku by Rumiko Takahashi. Now, personally, I really want to get into the works of Rumiko Takahashi. Camilo is currently reading the Inuyasha series and absolutely loves it. He's like currently obsessed with it, and he's like really trying to convince me to read it, and I do want to read it. It's just I've been prioritizing other manga. I really need to get onto Rumiko Takahashi's works because I also want to read the Mao series. I want to read pretty much almost every single one of her series because I hear that all of her series are kind of great. I'm slowly collecting her work to eventually try them out, but have I read them yet? No. However, I am very much looking forward to reading them, and I really love her manga art style. It's like very classic. I personally love it. I have more shoujo to talk about. I have to talk about the King's Beast series. I really want to read the series so bad. I hear that this is a spin-off to another series, but I have been very fascinated in it because it kind of gives me Mulan vibes, where the protagonist pretty much cross-dresses as a man in order to take place of a family member or a friend. And honestly, I love Mulan vibes. I also want to read Prince Freya for that reason as well. Both shoujo beat titles. But yeah, cannot wait to let you guys know how I go with them once I've read them. And the last volume of manga that I need to haul today is Crazy Food Truck. This, oh my goodness, is a wild adventure. But it is definitely a series that I would recommend if you are like of an older age. It's technically recommended to those who are 18 plus, desperately waiting for the next volumes to come out and to kind of like let you guys know how I go with the series, because this volume ends off on a cliffhanger cliffhanger that starts the adventure off. What more could I ask for in terms of a start to a series? Next book I bring up in this haul is the second book in the Dreamland Billionaires series, and that, my friends, is Terms and Conditions. I only found out that this book series has to do with theme parks and billionaires, or like billionaires that run theme parks, only recently. I just pretty much picked it up because it was a romance series that everyone was recommending. That's what I've been pretty much doing with romance series. I've just been going with the flow and picking up books that I see that are affordable and just trying them out. Terms and Conditions seem to be on sale, so I grabbed this one as well. The next contemporary romance book that I have to bring up is Chef's Kiss by TJ Alexander. As I'm currently filming this video, I've only recently read this novel within the last week, and what I can say is, oh my goodness, did it blow me away. I absolutely loved the story, and I just really enjoyed the aspects of like cooking and social media and all that stuff etc, but the slow burn romance was just one that just kept me hyped throughout the entire story. I loved this one, and if you take any of my recommendations seriously, please take this one seriously. I loved Chef's Kiss. I would highly recommend it. And the final adult contemporary romance that I have to haul today is Here for the Right Reasons by Jodi McAllister. Oh my goodness, I finally have it in my hands. If you guys don't know, Jodi McAllister is the author of the Valentine trilogy, which in fact, if you don't know, Valentine was one of the first reviews I posted on my channel, and it was one of the first arcs I received from a publisher in exchange for an honest review. I'm just so excited for Jodi because that was her debut novel, and now all of a sudden, a few years later, I'm seeing her absolutely thrive in her writing career. And oh my goodness, I'm so excited for Here for the Right Reasons to be out soon. Here for the Right Reasons will be out the first week of July. If you haven't already yet pre-ordered it, I would highly encourage you do. I have not yet read it, but what I do know is that Jodi McAllister is like one of my favorite writers. I absolutely love the way that she writes, and also the fact that this book was inspired by The Bachelor. You guys already know me with the Charm Offensive. I absolutely adore the Charm Offensive, but I know that Jodi McAllister is absolutely going to nail it with this book, especially because she has a lot of academic experience in terms of writing, and a lot of her work focuses on love and relationships. I honestly cannot wait to read this book. I am so used to kind of like seeing her take on paranormal romance due to the Valentine series, but I cannot wait to read her contemporary works, and Here for the Right Reasons is definitely one that I don't want to miss. And now I'm gonna mention a book that I technically have a duplicate for, but hey, I didn't mind grabbing a second copy for potential continuity. And that, my friends, is The Witch Haven by Sasha Payton Smith. And what I like about the original hardback as opposed to the one that I have from the bookish box is that it's got this really cool hardcover stamp on it. It just looks absolutely pretty. I love both packagings of The Witch Haven. However, I don't know if the bookish box are doing a special edition for The Witch Hunt. But I thought to myself, yeah, you know, why not have a matching set in the case that that doesn't happen. And speaking of bookish box special editions, I have the bookish box special edition for Only a Monster by Vanessa Len, and this was the March book pick for the month for the young adult box, and it's got purple pages and it's got a hard cover stamp here. Once again, I kind of hope that they do the sequel. I know that it's a little bit difficult when the publisher is unresponsive. The bookish box usually do everything they can in their power to make a customized edition of the sequel, but sometimes publishers are unresponsive. So I'm hoping in the case of Only a Monster that doesn't happen, like that they are actually responsive and we will get sequels looking like this. And I received these fantasy romance fae books in the mail today. I'm so excited to read these. This is the Maze of Shadows series, and the covers look really hot. They do. They look pretty hot. I've heard that this series, as much as it looks steamy, it's not necessarily that steamy. It's more of a slow burn romance. That is essentially what I'm to expect based on multiple reviews. However, I hear great things about this series by Catherine Ann Kingsley, and I cannot wait to read it and try it out for myself because, as you might know based on what I've mentioned in my TBR video, I'm looking for new favorite fantasy series. I reckon that this series might just be a new favorite if I give it a shot. Next, I'm going to mention some books that I got in my young adult April fairy loot. Those, my friends, are Blood Scion and An Arrow to the Moon. Now, I absolutely love the colors of these sprayed edges, and yeah, I cannot wait to read these books and let you guys know how I go with them. I haven't yet started them as I'm filming this video. They're both aesthetically pleasing, and today, as I'm filming this haul, I received some book mail from Illumicrate, and the first thing I received from them was The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport. Now, when Illumicrate announced that this was going on sale, I was very much drawn to the cover. I absolutely love this color palette. I love the blues and the red in contrast with the blue. I also love the red sprayed pages, and also this is a very short hardback, which is very fascinating. However, I ain't complaining. It's absolutely beautiful. I just love the colors of this and everything. Speaking of Illumicrate, I also have this duology here, We Hunt the Flame and We Free the Stars by Hafsa Faisal. This duology, oh my goodness, I've talked about this previously on my channel. It looks absolutely stunning. I am still kind of shocked that I have it and that I had the opportunity to get it, because this series looks absolutely beautiful on my shelves, and I just love the packaging packaging of this. I heard that the series got sold out within 48 hours, so I was lucky enough to grab it, even though I wasn't granted early access because I'm not an Illumicrate subscriber. This next hardback book is not a special edition. However, I just never really see this in stock anywhere, so I just decided to order this directly from Waterstones before I believe that this hardback is going to be out of print. I personally don't know whether the UK publisher is planning to print this series in hardback going forward, or at least print this first book in hardback going forward, so I just decided that I was going to pay international shipping just so I could get a hardback of Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sue Lin Tan. I absolutely love this cover. I've always loved it ever since I first saw it. I was just kind of waiting for it to kind of go on sale in Australian retailers. I've seen the paperback in Australian retailers. For some reason, I will always prefer a hardback over a trade paperback if I can help it. So I was waiting for the hardback to come in Australian retailers, and unfortunately I never saw it in Australian retailers. And weirdly, a few Australian retailers gave like a date of the end of May or the end of April as a publication date for the hardback to be supplied in Australia. So I waited until that date, and then by the time we got to that date, it said that it was out of stock and not coming back in stock. That's when I decided, okay, Waterstones order, we're gonna do it. I also added the UK edition of Six Crimson Cranes to that order as well. This is by Elizabeth Lim. I could not resist this beautiful edition. I've seen the Fairy Loot edition be sold secondhand many times, but I've always preferred the color palette on the original cover. And now I'm gonna bring up the Fairy Loot adult picks for the last few months. So March, we have the Atlas 6. I finally own a copy of the Atlas 6, and now I have to read it. Like, it's about time. It was put on my 5-star predictions, so I gotta see whether I predicted right by finally reading it. And then for April, we received City of Dusk by Tara Sim. This is a book that I haven't really heard much about, but I'm very much interested, I'm intrigued, and you know, Fairy Loot added it to my TBR, so I guess I'm gonna try it out and let you guys know how I go with it. And May's pick was Book of Night by Holly Black, which was a book that I was planning to read, and I'm so excited to finally get to this one. And in my personal opinion, this is the best special edition I've seen so far. I mean, you know, I will receive the Bookish Book special edition and I'll see whether I change my mind, but oh my goodness, I really love how this one looks, especially the foiling underneath. Final book series that I have to hold today is a book series that I received in the mail today. Yes guys, more Illumicrate. I received the special editions of the Bone Witch trilogy by Rin Gepetto. Oh my goodness, these look so much prettier in person than they did digitally. This is what the first book, The Bone Witch, looks like. It looks so pretty in person. I kind of wish that I could show you guys all these in person. This is the Heart Forger. I love how the foiling kind of just shines. And finally, I have the Shadow Glass. What I absolutely love about these editions are the stenciled edges. They are so pretty. What I also love about these is the foiling. There are quotes on each of the books. I love the spine beauty. Illumicrate are absolutely nailing it with some of their special editions. I know that I don't subscribe to their monthly book box, but what I do have to say is their designs for their special edition boxes or their special edition books are absolutely incredible. And here is the final one. Oh my goodness. I cannot wait to read the rest of this series. I read The Bone Witch like 2 years ago, and I don't really remember much about it, but what I do know is that I really wanted to continue on because I was very curious as to where it was going based on where The Bone Witch left off. The Bone Witch is essentially an origin story, so I personally cannot wait to see what The Bone Witch was foreshadowing for. So I guess that's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay to the end of the video, leave me the book stack emoji, because that's what we do for book hauls. We leave book stack emojis. If you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social medias. I'm at GSwizzleBooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. I'm at GSwizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
Started out with half and I flipped it in a double. Started out with half and I flipped it in a double.